Joining us now, Morning Joe, Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Dave Campbell. Also with us, Professor of History at Tulane University, Walter Isaacson. He's here in a different capacity today. He's participating in a COVID-19 vaccine trial for Pfizer, and I can't wait to hear about that. But Dr. Dave, set the stage for us if you can. There are a lot of different COVID-19 vaccines that are working through several stages of development right now. Russia claims it has a vaccine that's ready to go. Is that true? What's the status of vaccines?
Well, first, Professor Isaacson, congratulations on being willing to participate. I think that's a bold move that everybody should look at and aspire to.
Yeah.
You know, there are over 160 vaccines in various phases of development across the world. And in the United States, there are 3 in the phase 3 clinical trials. You have Moderna, you have Pfizer, and you have the Oxford. And if you look at the Russian vaccine, the Sputnik V, it was granted regulatory approval by the Minister of Health in Russia, I think it was August 11th. And they will be entering their phase 3 clinical trials soon this month. And that's the rub, is they haven't gotten into phase 3 trials, but they're announcing regulatory approval, which is something that the United States Food and Drug Administration doesn't do. They like to see the phase 3 trials, the final phase of clinical trials for these vaccines to be well underway. We can anticipate, Mika, some more discussion about emergency use authorizations in the United States as the fall unfolds and as we see the phase 3 trials unfold. So that's where we are right now with vaccines, and everybody's optimistic, I must say. It's a wonderful spread of options that are out there with many companies. We have Operation Warp Speed that thus far has funded $9 billion of testing and getting ready to do distribution. We have McKesson, very large, the largest company that manages the flu vaccines, has now been tagged as the company that will be helping to distribute these vaccines in the United States once they become available.
Willie.
So, Walter, we usually talk to you about history, but how fascinating to have you here as someone participating in this Pfizer RNA vaccine trial. What does it mean exactly to participate in a trial, and how did you end up here?
Well, it just means you go down to Oxford Hospital down the road here. It's one of many places, probably 200 places in this country that are doing trials. Dr. Francis Collins was urging people, just go to coronavirusprevention.org online and you can sign up for trials. So I'm writing a book about the use of RNA and DNA to fight, find new ways to fight viruses. And I said, well, why not do it? I went online, signed up, and the next day I got a phone call. So it meant I got a very long needle injected into my arm. That was about 2.5 weeks ago. I'm going back for the booster on Monday. So far, my arm still hurts, but I haven't grown any extra fingers or anything. And what an RNA vaccine does, and it would be one of the ones that I think will be ready to be considering the data in October, meaning not too long from now, is instead of putting some deactivated virus in you or some re-engineered virus, it just injects RNA into your cells, and the RNA makes the spike protein, a harmless version of it, so that you can build your own immunity to the spike protein. So the main thing they're looking for is to make sure that minorities, people of color, others do it. I can understand why, you may not want yourself to be experimented on, but I think they've got a problem signing up people in diverse community, in minority and African-American communities. So I hope that's going to come along too.
So, Walter, you're participating in this, but you're also covering it. So when you talk to these doctors about the prospects for this vaccine and other vaccines, do they share the optimism that Dr. Dave just shared with us, that there may be something here, perhaps even by the beginning of next year?
Oh, yeah. I think the Pfizer CEO has said publicly, and certainly I've heard, that the data from the Pfizer trial and there's one that's also an RNA vaccine from Moderna, and there's one that uses a virus transport mechanism to get in, and that's called the Oxford vaccine you've probably heard of. All three of those are in phase 3 clinical trial with tens of thousands of people, and I think by the end of October we are going to have data. Now this is going to cause one of the next political controversies, because when we do have that data, you know, some people are going to say, well, let's make the vaccine available, and some say, well, let's wait until we're sure it's more safe. But I think we'll have data knowing which of these works by the middle of October.
Well, yesterday, the World Health Organization said it was concerned that spread of the coronavirus was being driven by people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, many of which were unaware that they were infected, posing a danger to vulnerable groups. WHO officials said the proportion of younger people among those infected had risen globally, putting at risk vulnerable sectors of the population worldwide, including the elderly and sick people in densely populated areas with weak health services. And Dr. Dave, there's a lot of issues, connected to that, if you could like to comment. But there's also a need for testing in the U.S. I know the FDA is authorizing a saliva test for COVID-19. I know the White House uses a quick test. The American people could use some testing that's quick. Where are we with that?
Well, first, the fact that there are lots of young people infected and certainly transmitting it to older folks or those with underlying health illnesses is well established and of grave concern, and it started on Memorial Day and July 4th, and here we are in mid-August. The saliva test that really just came out is an opportunity for a more rapid test without having the deep nasal swab that, if anybody hasn't had it yet, you will remember that experience, certainly. And that test is being used in part with the NBA trainers and team members and administrators. It is a test that they say with 3 hours of lead time, they can test 92 subjects and come back with the test. And they're hoping to make that even quicker. It's going to be relatively inexpensive. Everybody is hoping that by late August, maybe September, we'll have a saliva test rather than the deep nasal swab as an option to increase our testing numbers rather than what we're witnessing now, which is a drop in the testing numbers, even though we're going into the fall with flu season. We're going into the fall with schools opening and kids going to school. And now we know with absolute scientific certainty that kids are not immune. Kids can become transmitters of the disease, and they just aren't as sick.
Absolutely. And just like that reported by people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who are passing it around who don't know they have it. Again, a quick test would dramatically change our ability to reopen this country, and we're way behind. If they had it, things could happen. We could go to work. We could go to school. People could get tested every day. We don't have it. We don't have anything close to it. And the president doesn't want testing because he doesn't want high numbers of the coronavirus, which is downright sick. Dr. Dave Campbell, thank you very much.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.